We are live! Welcome to the talk about Smile and Terrifier. How are you, Cole?
Pretty good. How about you?
I'm doing great. We are talking about a lot of movies. What about you, Dlord?
I'm good. Very late, but I didn't know you were going to break this up. But you wanted to cover all these. Eh,
Yeah, I. That's the weekend, and
I
we
know.
must fully use that weekend.
I mean, you want to cover all the Terrifier films. Terrifier 3 is enough. Look, it's there's that's a series. Like Smile is a different one. That's an easier one. But mm,
Smile
I,
is better,
that's why
and
when I say others, like there's a big lore to Art the Clown. He's a good villain, but
it's just a slasher. It's just a slasher. So I guess we can start
start with
with
Terrifier.
Smile. What did you think of Smile, Cole? The original one that came out 2 years ago now.
Yeah, so I'll start out by saying when the trailer first dropped for this, yeah, everybody around me was saying this looks like shit and is looks really bad and is laughable. However, and while that's true though, I looked at some of the director's work before he made this film, and he did have some artistic visions and in his direction and camera work, and also well, yes, it looked bad and everything, and it's something we've seen before, just with like that stupid fucking ready or not thing, or or whatever it was, or true or false, whatever that thing is, like that fucking Truth or Dare film from Blumhouse with the stupid smile effect, and we've seen it before. It looked entertaining though, like it looked like a bad horror film that would be entertaining though. And also I've always, a lot of people, have said, around me have said, like, like they're just somebody smiling like isn't scary, like these zoomers these days are so weak. But I'll be honest, that is like an uncanny thing that does kind of scare me a bit though, just like somebody randomly like smiling like that, especially in this day and age of how people are, and also it kind of reminds me of like PTSD and like shell shock that like soldiers have in like old photos, if you ever seen them, where they're just like smiling at the camera, and then usually they were executed later for treason and other things, because they didn't understand it at the time in like World War I and World War II. So, and there's a lot of things you could do, of course, with mental health and stuff, which the film tries to do at points. Like, sure, there's a lot of things you could tackle with this. So I was kind of excited going into this, but I left very disappointed. Like, first and foremost, well, yes, there's a lot of messages and things like that, and that you brought up before, in DM's multi with it. I know when we were talking about it a little bit. The film doesn't tackle any of it like at all. It tackles like none of it. There's like it tackles it like a little bit at like one or two moments, and that's it pretty much. And there's moments where it has potential to do better, but it's just they drop the ball with it hard, and with the characters, and the pacing of it, I think, is horrendous. While I do like that at a lot of moments, it doesn't just go for like loud music jump scare moments, and it takes its time more of things with this slow pacing at points compared to other like cheap horror films. While I do appreciate that, it does so too much at way too many moments, and it doesn't do so in a great way. It isn't executed very well either at all, and it's not effective. And yeah, the and then outside of that, yeah, this just was really poorly made in my opinion. Pretty much, besides Kyle Gardner, who still wasn't great in it at all because he had nothing to work with. All the acting, I think, was super weak, and I thought the lead sucked. I thought the actor who I forget his name, but he plays A Train in The Boys, I thought was really bad, did not fit the role at all. He was really bad at it. Same thing with all the others in it. they were just really bad. Almost this whole cast, and yeah, it wasn't entertaining. Like I wanted some entertaining. I was hoping for this to be entertaining. Even was dumb. I got none of it. There was like almost nothing in this that was like scary. Like none of it was to me. None of it was entertaining or fun in a bad way. And a lot of people talked about like certain like body horror moments or gore moments. It was very tame in this. It was pretty dull. Like even the ending thing with the whole monster thing and with the multiple smiles and everything, it was very very tame and not well done. And also all the side characters and everything in this film, they're very inconsistent with how they actually do the smile properly. So there's a lot of like characters who like do it where it's like barely a smile because they don't know how to do it properly, and then other ones it's like very over the top. It's just very inconsistent. Like they could have done a better job with finding people who can do it properly, because it looked really bad at moments. And then this is the other thing. This is the main reason though, then why I really don't like this film at all. This film literally pulls every like cliche and basics horror storytelling thing out of the book. Like literally, if you grab every cliche trope and just story element out of like bad jump scare horror films in the 2010s and then put it into a film, this would be it. It literally uses every trope story arc ever, with like every side character of her like going to different people and them thinking she's crazy, which those scenes are acted out horribly by everyone. It's like so poorly done at every moment, and with the writing and acting and everything, and every moment in the story just like literally the most cliche things ever that I've seen 24/7. And especially that whole twist ending with her, with the whole cabin thing, like, oh, it was actually the monster, and then coming back and, oh no, she was actually there the whole time. Yeah, it's like, yeah, I and there were people in my theater actually like surprised by that twist, like that oh, she didn't actually make it back to her apartment and everything. Like, I'm just like, is this your first time ever seeing a horror film ever? Like even like a toddler who has seen like 5 horror films and are like 3 years old would know like what's coming, because it's like literally the most cliche and predictable thing ever. And this whole film, there isn't like one surprising thing in this or thing that's done well. There's like 2 moments in it that were kind of entertaining, sort of, and those moments were spoiled in the trailer, like the one, like when she was in her car in that one scene, uh, with that one character just like knocking on the window, and that's kind of about it. And then also with all the scares in this, and this is what I really despise about this film as well. Literally every single scare in this entire film, I mean literally every scare, was literally stolen from other things. Like, I don't know if you ever, like, there's too many films and games to count, but just for one example, I don't know if if you ever played that PT Silent Hill demo. But
the only Silent Hill I did play was on the PSP.
Yeah,
I do know about the IP. I've heard about it.
Yeah,
I think
but
I've seen some bad movies.
Have you heard about that PT game though? The demo that was made
Not
by
really.
Hideo Kojima with Norman Reedus, and then it was going to be into a full Silent Hill game, and then Konami canceled it because they're assholes. But yeah, it was very popular. It was considered amazing. Everybody was hyped for it. It was very, still to this day, it's still talked about, the PT Silent Hill thing, and it was so scary. And there is a memorable scene in it where, like, again, it's in a whole loop where the character is just like walking through the apartment, down the stairs, opens the door again, and it's back in the apartment, and you go through this loop with like, and it changes, and that's like the demo, and then there's different scares, and there's one iconic one where eventually there's just this voice from the telephone that eventually just goes, "Turn around, I said turn around," and then you turn around and you're like, oh, it's fucking scared. Yeah, and this film just stole that. It literally just stole that. And same thing with many scares from many other horror films and games. Literally every single scare in this film is stolen from other films and games. There isn't one original thing in this. It does it just like unapologetically, and it's disgraceful, and it does it so much worse with it, like just like Venom just makes it generic. And yeah, this is a piece of shit film. I went into it knowing it would be bad, but I at least had some expectations for it and wanted to be entertained, and I wasn't even with that. It wasn't entertaining. It didn't do a single thing entertaining or creatively or unique or interesting. It was literally pointless, the whole thing, and just copied from other things soullessly, and it's really disappointing, unfortunately, because I feel like something like this, could be done really well, ironically and unironically, depending on what route you want to go. But yeah, this was just absolute garbage. When I first saw it, I was a little nicer on it, but over the years, over the last couple of years, I've just been like more, less generous with it. Now I just think it's total garbage almost. Yeah, I am. I'm gonna stop rambling, but yeah, it's just shit to me. Sorry.
Man, I had a very different experience with Smile, the original one. Um, Thank you for sharing a lot. That was interesting, and this is proof we are not a echo
Echo.
chamber.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
like that.
if you want though, I can send you that. I don't know if you'd ever have time to watch it, but I could send you like a walkthrough thing of that PT Silent Hill, and you can know what I'm talking about. You don't even have to watch the full thing, just up until that point. It is like a great horror demo though, and yeah, they were gonna have like the people, like the main character in the game was gonna be Norman Reedus, who was Daryl from The Walking Dead, if you remember that guy.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
That the
yes,
only
and
good
yes,
character.
yes, and he was gonna Hideo Kojima was gonna work on it with Guillermo del Toro, but again, Konami canceled it, and then they made just some shitty Silent Hill 2 remake recently. So instead, he went on to make Death Stranding, if you ever heard of that, with him instead, and now he's doing something with Jordan Peele, another game. So yeah, but
That's
it,
interesting.
yeah, it's always funny watching a Hideo Kojima's like Twitter thing, because it's always just him talking about movies. Like, yeah, I wish I got to become a movie director instead. You can see that in his games. He just wanted to become a movie director instead.
So we got a Terrifier fan. So right now we aren't too small, but Terrifier is in the planning for
Yeah.
tonight. Um, so to get back on track, um, I had a totally different experience with Smile. I had no issue whatsoever. It's one of my favorite horror flick we covered since we started covering movies together, Cole. Um, I don't know if it's quite my favorite because I think Longlegs and Strange Darling are both considered horror, but like these are the only two exceptions I place above the original Smile, and maybe Immaculate. I need to think about that. But Smile is one of my favorite horror flick. I I just genuinely liked what they were doing. Um, Maybe it's because I haven't seen that many horror flick because I'm not really that much into horror, but I enjoyed how they tackled um, mental illness. Um, Here's a few things I didn't know. The idea of one can pass down trauma was well depicted. The nurse was a workaholic. It was well shown, um, and she is about to leave work, but then she answers the phone to have a reason to stay at work. That's just kind of clever, I think, and it's very fast and early in the movie, so you really get introduced to that character. She's a workaholic, and this is how she goes. She never leaves that place, and that's clever. The nurse being skeptical was her main character trait in most of her exchanges with the patient, and of course, she becomes one of the victims. So that changed. Well, shown out, the main character drinks a lot of alcohol when she's not at work, so maybe she is an alcoholic, and you really need to watch the movie to get it. You know, it's not like, oh, you drink too much, like lazy ass dialogue. It's really like, take that scene, take that shot. Um, Rose being driven crazy was also well shown. I thought the actress playing Rose, I think that was Rose in the first one. She was solid. Best actress, I don't know, but she was solid. And her being obsessed of her thing made sense because she is a workaholic. So I think most of her character moment are well made, I think. Um, and it was irony when the therapist went to therapy to talk to other therapists. That's the kind of stuff I'm sure happens in reality as well, because a lot of people share a lot of things, and you could be damaged by some. And um, the theme of dealing with trauma again. I repeat myself a lot, but these are kind of my notes. And it's also very relatable how much she is into denial. She's like, I'm fine. Uh, she didn't really want to face her demons, and this is why the demons kind of took over by the end. And this is why I think that movie is just cool. It's a good one, and I was entertained from start to finish. I could go on and on and on and on about how much I love that movie. Um, that would take forever. That's not that much different with the sequel. I will admit the sequel is something else, just like the original. And yeah,
I wish I had that same experience. But yeah.
And yeah, again, maybe what plays in my favor is the fact that I haven't seen that many horror flicks.
Yeah, yeah. Again, if you haven't, then yeah, like a lot of this might be new to you. But again, it like 90% of this film is just copied from other films, and it usually isn't like. Again, it isn't a bad thing. Everything has copied everything at one point, or and has a bit evolved over it. A little bit with certain elements, but it just does so in such a worse way to me, and it just like it never like tries to be its own thing when it does so. So that's what I really hated about it. But I mean, I completely get what you're saying. Though I wish I had that experience with it again.
And another really good thing I enjoyed was the music. I thought the music and the sound effect were solid. The atmosphere and the vibes, the feeling you're getting. It's that movie is not that easy to watch, but it's still enjoyable and entertaining. It's the kind of movie you cannot really watch if you are in a dark place. That won't help you to get out of the dark place. But if your life is kind of cool and you want to feel like shit, watch that movie. But like, that's a good movie. It's not because it's bad. It's just that, yeah, you see that others have a life worse than yours.
Yeah,
And
well, no, more like if your life is shit, all right, and you want to feel better about yourself, then just watch it and realize, I could have made this piece of shit instead.
yeah, I again, I could go on and on. I think that's the one movie I have the most to say about, because I have seen the other one in the theater, so my notes were very limited.
You did.
Yeah, I went to see it in the theater
Yeah. So,
yesterday.
did you like it more than this?
Then the original, yes, I did.
Yeah, because again, people are saying it's a huge improvement over the first, so I'm willing to
I
watch it later and give it a chance.
I won't say it's a huge improvement. Since
Really?
you didn't like the first one, I think you will not like the second one either. But
I'm wondering if the acting's an improvement and if they did more of their original fucking thing. So that's what I'm curious about.
the acting in the first one didn't bother me that much, so I don't know if I'm a good a good judge on that. But I'd say
Really?
the acting was still solid, like in both.
Okay.
Uh,
Well,
one
that
thing,
scares me a bit, but I'll see though. I'll see. But I mean, right? You didn't have like an issue though with like the A
no,
Train actor's acting. You didn't think he was bad in the role.
well, he did his job. He was just there to be a snitch. Let's be
Yeah,
honest, he was
he
just
did it
there to be a
horribly
snitch.
though. God, he was like so uncomfortable, like watching him. I
That
felt
that was the
felt
point because people are not comfortable when they talk about that kind of shit.
yeah, but like not in like that way though. Like literally like uncomfortable. Like I felt like bad for him. Like self embarrassment just watching him like try to act in that film. And I got what he was going for, honestly, but yeah, it just didn't work. Not with him.
But what I can tell about Smile 2 without spoiling anything for you is the ending kind of surprised me because I thought I would go a certain way, but they didn't. And the ending was very fitting. It made sense, but I won't spoil anything again. But there's something I really don't like about the ending. And we will talk about that once you have seen it.
Mm,
Because
okay.
if but again that's not necessarily an issue because again the ending made sense, it was working well, I liked it, but I didn't like it at the same time. It's the kind of ending you're like, okay, it's not a bad ending, it's just I see what they are trying to do and I don't like what they're trying to do. It's like, yeah, you had an opportunity to say, you know what, Small 2 will be going out on a bang.
Yeah. Uh, Also, I will say in terms of like horror films, I mean, yeah, I mean it's tough to say. I mean, I guess like you could say this is like one of your best when it comes to just pure horror, but there are definitely many where you could say are like it's a side genre or like it is kind of mostly, but there's other ones. I mean, it's hard to say. Like you could. I know you gave like a 10 to Last Night in Soho and like Red Rooms, and those are considered horrors,
Yeah.
at least side horror.
Oh, really? Red Rooms is considered horror. I'm
Well,
surprised.
there's four genres on it, and horror is like the fourth, and then I know Last Night in Soho also is, and others, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Uh,
So
um,
I will say though, if you did like this, then maybe you'll like stop motion if you haven't seen that yet.
Send that title to me because again, I have a fried brain, so I won't
Yeah,
remember.
well, again, I sent you like a list of films before. I don't know if you've seen like half of them, but I did
Yeah.
send them to you, and they should be like in the pinned messages, maybe, unless
Yeah.
like something happened to them. So I'll have to see, like maybe like they got unpinned by accident. Now that I'm looking at it, because I don't know if I actually see them, so I'll have to like try to find that for you. But yeah, again, I was a little unsure about recommending this one to you before. Like I liked it, but um, it's definitely like slow paced. So I didn't
Yeah.
know how you would feel about it. But if you like Smile a lot, then you might like
I'm
this
I-
one.
I'm actually surprised I haven't placed Small 2 yet into my some of my favorite among all. It's clearly very high in my list of movies from this year, but I'm actually surprised I haven't placed it yet on my list with my favorite among all because I think it's somewhere there. I don't know where exactly, but it deserves a spot. Um, the first Smile, I don't know. Maybe if the second one deserves to be there, the first one deserves as well because I feel like they're very close from each other, and the gap is not that big. So actually, I will add both there when I think about it. But yeah, I will ask Dlord. Did you have you seen the original Smile? Have you?
I've seen both, yes.
Okay, so now let's focus the discussion on the
So
original one.
Smile 1 is it I kind of agree with Cole. It's well, no idea is original eventually because everything's been done before. Everything's an inspiration. Possession horror is nothing new. The it's all how you execute possession horror. Possession horror. So possession horror, right, has to be done weird. You have like Exorcist. You have what is it? The possession of Emily Rose. Does the person eventually accept the demon, or does the demon consume the person? And Smile's always about that cursed fate. She probably was never going to break it, and oh, there's a twist. She's probably going to lose, right?
Yeah,
That's why you always have the tropes.
yeah,
And I didn't think it was bad. I mean, I agree parts of it were recycled. But in some of the execution, it's good.
yeah,
But I wasn't impressed by the film when it came out. Like, entertaining, good, not as a high. Because part of what attracted me to it is I do like psychological stories. I'm not a horror person as much as maybe like a psychological horror aspect. So it works in that regard, but it's not the best. But the original film, I looked it up, just looked it up. Apparently, it has $17 million budget and it made like 217.
that's
But
a lot of money.
so it made back more than its budget. But like, it's definitely not. It's just a weird film. The main character is cursed, and then the curse is going to be passed on. So it's kind of like, okay. But it is definitely not the worst, but it is a collection of tropes. But it's an entertaining one. Best at this job? No. Best for the while in recent years? Yes. I mean, it's kind of color me weird. It's kind of like if you look at like Long Legs, right?
Yeah,
Ultimately, he's like a servant of something far more evil.
yeah,
But it's kind of like maybe there's hope, maybe there isn't.
yeah,
And I mean, that's what it covers the film. But that's the genre. Either there is hope at the end of the tunnel, or like a light, or the character's damned anyways.
yeah,
Because, I mean, one of the other with some weird, but that's what I said. Possession horror is kind of weird. Like, if you want to have a twist, what is the movie? Banker gets a button. She wouldn't give it, so the gypsy woman curses it, and she nearly saves herself, but she chooses the wrong one, and she gets sent to
classic.
hell. You know the film. Cole knows it.
Yeah,
It's Cole, you're what? But
Sorry, what is it about again? Sorry.
kind of a horror movie. Possession. Gypsy woman curses a button that the banker has, and she almost saves herself. But it's like if a curse.
Oh, right, that one. Yes, that Sam Raimi film. Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah, I actually think it was overhated at the time. Drag Me to Hell, but I enjoyed it a lot more. Like when it comes to a more PG horror.
But it has the aspect, like I'm saying, right? You
Yeah.
have a chance to escape. but
that
why
chance
these-
is still shit because you gotta take a life.
Mm-hmm.
but it's that realm of Smile. You think the person has a chance, but they're damned anyways. But without getting into spoil like that, 2 has a chance. I
Don't spoil anything, Dlord.
not.
He
I'm
hasn't
not.
seen the 2 and leave
It's
it
all
be.
fine. But Smile is it's kind of a cult classic. It's liked, but it's not the best. It's possession horror. Because I asked Cole why you have it. How'd you like the possession of Emily Rose?
I thought it was alright. There were ones I liked better for sure, and it definitely, doesn't hold a candle to other classics in that genre, sure, but, it was decent. Scott Derrickson is definitely very hit or miss, and he can be kind of an asshole on social media, so I don't really like him as a person that much, but yeah, he's hit or miss. I do like some of his stuff, though, and his potential, but I mean, I also kind of like The Last Exorcism a bit. I wish they cut out that, last 10 minutes so of it.
Yeah, but that's what I view it. Smile 2 was in the right place at the right time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's enough for Smile 2. So let's
Smile. I said
let's,
Smile 1. Sorry,
yeah,
I should
yeah.
say it.
Okay.
So Smile 1. Smile 1 was in the right place at the right time to be popular.
Yeah.
Right place. But it isn't the best at its thing. And a lot of tropes you see in there with a jump scare, the slowly going crazy. Yeah.
So do you want to add more on the first
I'm
one?
good. It's
Okay.
good. It's usually
So
good.
I will ask you first, since I think we covered a lot of ground with the first Smile. What would be your grade out of 10 for the original Smile?
I give it a 7.
What about you, Cole?
I give this like a 1.5.
Really? What?
Yeah, I seriously can't think of much that I really liked about it. Again, there were moments there were like a couple moments with some of the elements that were kind of entertaining and done sort of well, and I appreciate that they at least took their time with certain scenes and didn't rush things and do just loud noises and stuff, even if I thought the execution was still really uninspired and lacking in it. But outside of that, and outside of Kyle Gardner trying his best, yeah, I didn't like anything else about it, sorry. Which, speaking of Kyle Gardner, I know you've seen this now with him and Strange Darling. If you like him, though, then I would recommend, a couple of his earlier films that he was in.
Yeah.
Again, I also mentioned, Sean Baker's other films, the guy who did Nora, how, he's also pretty popular in Letterboxd, but yeah, he's made other films like Tangerine, Florida Project, and Red Rocket, which are great. And with Kyle Gardner, yeah, he's done other stuff I didn't like American Sniper that much, but he did do that. He was also where I forgot he was also in the that Scream 5. I forgot, but yeah, he was in some other stuff I did like though, like Dinner in America and stuff. So he's glad he's on the rise. Right, that too. Right, I forgot. Yeah, he was in that shitty Nightmare on Elm Street remake in 2010. Yeah, let's not talk about that.
I've
that
seen it back then. That
Yeah.
was shite. Even
Yeah,
as someone that
what a
doesn't
great-
watch movie, I could see it.
Yeah, did everything wrong. And, the thing is, they had a music, video director do it because he was actually very acclaimed with it, and they were super well done and, kind of dark in the tone, so they thought you'd maybe give him a chance with this, and, yeah, he dropped the ball hard. He did everything wrong. I mean, I got what he was going for, but it was shit and disrespectful, and shouldn't have been made. And yeah, what a great decision to turn him into just a pedophile. Great job.
Great.
Well,
YouTube
I mean,
will like that word.
wasn't he originally
Yeah, it's hinted at moments, but it's not really supposed to be like revealed. And I don't think it's ever like actually ever like completely was. Like, I could be wrong, but I don't think
Because he was kidnapping children on the street, if I was correct.
Yeah, like I don't think like again it's hinted at, and I think it's been an idea and that they threw around, but I don't think it wasn't ever like confirmed. I don't think, and I also don't think it was ever going to be their plan to make it an official thing. But just leave it for people to interpret if they want. Like, just making it like trying to make it then just actual canon just ruins so much about the character. Like, it damages it so much. And
But it's not just that. Yeah, it's true. Because even the old one, it's like, yeah, you can only rehash an origin story before messing it up. Because,
yeah, that's why you don't try to just remake some of these films. Again, remakes can work, but with like certain IPs, like, you don't touch it. Like, as much as I appreciate some of the attempts with the Halloween remakes to an extent, right? Yes, to an extent, like the 2018 one. All right, it's never gonna work properly because, like, you're never gonna relive the success of that, because with the original Halloween, it's like it wasn't even like there wasn't even like many kills or anything. It wasn't like a big slasher thing. With like, what made it special at the time was that it was in the decade where like slashers were just being made like that, so it was like one of the first slashers ever made. All right, so that's the first thing, and then the second thing is the whole mystery aspect. Like, what made it special is that the mystery with Michael Myers, not knowing really like who he is and how dangerous he is, and like seeing everything in the film for the first time like that. Like, that's what made it so scary and throw in, and also how the film's also like half just like kind of like a Halloween celebration thing as well. So it's like, so trying to like remake it or like reboot it, like something like that was successful with the first film, all because of that. Like, you can't do that anymore. Like, we see everything now in it and know him. And with other horror films now, after 1973 or 78, wherever it came out, like, you can't do it anymore. It's done. Like, think of something else. You stop using Michael Myers.
And then we got Terrifier.
Yeah, yeah. Well, at least I was entertaining, unlike Smile.
Oh my, what an insult. I will sound like the crazy one, but the original Smile for me is a 10 out of 10. No issue whatsoever. I had a goddamn blast, and this deserves a place in somewhere in my favorite among all. I don't know where exactly I need to compare, but I just genuinely enjoyed the original Smile a lot. And with that being said, I think it's the perfect time to go into the first Terrifier. Um,
Nice.
so I will let you go first this time around, Dlord. What did you think of the original Terrifier?
I think it's okay. It's an interesting concept. Nothing really new. Color me weird though. I'm gonna say this. I'm not the hugest. I'm not the hugest horror fan. Like, I like horror movies, but I don't like in particular about it. Like, I like films like in the horror genre, like Hellraiser, probably Friday the 13th, stuff like that. I grew up on that. But when you get into certain ones, like, I think I like most of the Saw films before they became dumb.
That they went dumb really fast.
It's that whole one, like, I get it when you're doing an independent horror film, right? Because he got the concept right from a short. He took it into All Hallows Eve. Then he made Terrifier. Art's a good villain to a degree. He basically, again, it's a story. It works. But is it always the best? Not really. I mean, apparently he had a shoestring budget of $35,000 to $55,000.
Yeah. And
I
for the
guess.
record, Multi, if you want to know how low that is, in case you don't know, like,
Fuck.
just like buying like a proper film camera and everything with all the lenses and stuff is probably like around 15,000 total. So yeah, and hiring
I thought that
actors
was
and
like
stuff.
1,000.
Oh no, but for a proper one, yeah, like especially nowadays, it's around like 3,500 to 4,000. Like especially some of the really good ones, and then to buy all the different lenses and stuff. And also,
Yeah, 'cause-
again, there's so many things when it comes to film. You also don't need that. Like you need to buy many things for like sets as well, like that you don't think so, like expensive tripods, or no, so like expensive like crew members and like shade and things to block out like sunlight in a lot of areas and other things like while you're filming that it's kind of needed, and just many things you don't realize. And then even if you hire the most amateur actors, they still cost quite a bit. So that budget's gonna run out fast. Basically, like probably all the budget for this film was spent on that and the gore effects. Pretty much that's it. But anyway, sorry. Continue, Dlord.
So I also want to make the point of, granted, it's kind of like he probably tried to shoot it on the idea of maybe not the found film concept, but it's kind of like, yeah, and by the way, cameras are really expensive. I knew of people who, when they were revamping their like studio for like 40K or trying to shoot in 4K, even the worst camera costs like $5,000 or $6,000.
Wow.
And that is like, they're gonna go, we're gonna shoot in 4K, like the battle reports, and it's like, my man, you just spent $3,000 to $4,000 on a camera. I hope it works out for you. But one of the guy he had extra money. But no, like the idea, it's not a horrible film. It's like a slasher or a killer film, and of course, he gets up and he walks away. Okay, but it's kind of like, I wasn't impressed, but I wasn't bored. I'm like, okay. Because I've seen worse in like horror, right? This whole horror, the killer gets killed or the killer's not dead and rises again, and you're like, all right, but you do decent, right?
Yeah.
And it depends on really the props the person uses. What can they afford, right? That's kind of like, it's that weird. It was okay to me, but it's a weird film that comes from a short film into All Hallows Eve, 2 films. Then he did Terrifier. I'm like, well, the man's living his dream, but I don't get the magic of it.
Me neither.
Get me weird? Color me odd? Like, I understand when you give certain people a budget to do something. Like, I like the Rob Zombie films. House of a Thousand Corpses. The Halloweens. Even though some of the acting could be better. And stop starring your own wife. But that will never not happen. But even at that point, feels like you could execute it. But then maybe I'm just comparing apples to oranges. But that's what I say on that. It's not rated very high for me. It's like an indie horror film. It's something you would see at a festival. But I'm like, I'm impressed, but I'm not impressed, if that makes sense.
It does.
It's like, but again, it's like found film genre films don't hit well with me.
Yeah.
So that's what I say on that.
I guess I'm next, except if you'd like to add more.
No, you're good.
Okay, well, I was skeptical. I was like, okay, the movie is short. It's a slasher. I didn't like Halloween in the past, so I was like, okay, maybe this one will be a better Halloween. I was wrong. I was wrong. Um, I'm sorry for all of the Terrifier fan out there. I hate this franchise. Um, this first movie was the best. That may be a hot take for me, but I thought that was my favorite and the one I had the less issue with it. Maybe it's because of the runtime. Maybe I was somewhat entertained by it. I don't know. Um, Maybe I just got tired because the second one was just more of the same. Oh, let's run after people to cut them in pieces. Oh, the third one, let's have even more people being cut to pieces. Great. Great. Um, I'm just not the target audience for that kind of franchise. So yeah, the first one is my favorite. I still had a lot of issues. I still hated the experience, but let's talk about it. My first issue would be plot armor on the clown since he got hit many times by solid wood on his head, yet he didn't pass out or die. Now, did that critique really holds up? I don't know how much it does because there's magic, but in the first movie, you really learn about that magic aspect at the very end. Um, at first you think it's just a crazy and dangerous guy, so I don't know. But that's my first issue. The second issue would be um, plot convenience. No password stop the clown to use the phone of the victim. I was like, yeah, great, very convenient. Plot convenience, the clown knew the names of the characters so he could manipulate them. Again, we got more magical aspect introduced later with the sequel mainly, but I don't know. I the first one I thought the movie was somewhat more grounded up to the very
I would
end.
say it. Well, I think it was always kind of hinted at, like some of the supernatural elements, like throughout the runtime. But I will. It's hard to notice, but you can notice it at moments. It's not just the ending.
Okay, well, maybe on a rewatch the movie gets slightly better, but still the password shit.
I mean, I would have never
Hated.
rewatched this, but you know.
Me neither. Me neither. Never.
You're so
Um,
positive.
Number 4, the sister feels so stupid. Instead of calling the cops after finding the first corpse, she goes down the stairs to bump into the bad guys. Um, Number 5, also people have unbelievable amount of blood in their bodies in that movie. It's kind of crazy, and that's just to show, oh, look at how over the top this movie is. Um, the plot twist of the bald guy surviving doesn't add up. He only survived to save the last girl. Um, Now, I will admit, um, if we try hard to defend this movie, we could address the fact that there's two mentally ill characters. Um, I will admit that the action and the music was kind of cool, enjoyable. Not as good as Smile, but still, it's there. The fights between the victims and the monster were interesting, to say uh, what I really believe. So that's how much I can tell about this first entry. It's the best one in my books. Maybe on a rewatch, I will never rewatch, but maybe on a rewatch, the movie gets slightly better. But here, no, that's really my experience. F this movie, I hate it. and um, mean people are entertaining. I will admit that. People being mean was cool. I liked it.
I
So
mean, you got to think of it too. The film is very cliche if you've seen certain horror. Like the idea that he's a demonically possessed clown or possesses something. I'm like, okay, maybe he has it. It's like, can he? Funny you mentioned the final girl trope. That's a major theme in it. The whole series.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
one of the other favorite films I like is Cabin in the Woods. Cabin in the Woods.
Don't spoil anything for the record.
Yeah, I haven't seen it.
You need to, but the final girl trope's in there too.
Uh,
Yeah. So I guess I will pass the mic to Cole. What did you think of that
yeah.
Terrifier?
Um. Yeah, it was not terrible, I guess, but yeah, I can't really call it a good film. Like, I mean, this was made for practically no money outside of the money on the effects. So, considering that and everything, I think they, basically being almost like a student film, this was, pretty good in those regards. We did. There was some good direction, of course, and with paying homages to a lot of films I could recognize. And there were moments I really enjoyed and twists I didn't quite see, like at the end in there, and the and some funny moments. Like I did laugh when he pulled out that gun. That was pretty funny. But yeah, it's full of definitely many cliches though, and also many predictable moments too. Like I don't know how that was a twist at the end there. With her, it was pretty predictable the whole time who it would be. But yeah, and the kills and the gore. Yeah, sure, it's kind of entertaining, but yeah, I've seen it done better in other films, and it's same thing with the second, and from what I've seen of the third so far, at least like it didn't overstay its welcome. But yeah, it really is just like a
Oh man,
very
the third one is the worst, man. I think it's one of the worst movie we had this year.
well, I'll see when I see it.
Bottom
I mean,
five
a,
for
a
me.
lot of people like it, but so I'll see. But yeah, with this, I mean, the director knew like he had like no money basically to like do anything like special with the story or anything. So he's pretty much like, I guess like, okay, let's just embrace it as being just like a kind of like an old Friday the 13th thing. Don't even try if like everything else. Just be very basic with it, and then rely on everything else, which I guess was kind of smart, but still didn't like it very much. And so I will just say there are people online apparently who think this franchise is sexist for some reason, just because like, oh, they're killing many female characters gruesomely and not the male characters, and I think that's very
That's
stupid. I
not
think
only
that's
stupid, but
yeah, not true at all. So and
yeah,
I'll explain why. Uh, yes, I know, shocking, because yeah, apparently I think films are sexist. Just like Strange Darling, yeah. Even though I never
yeah.
said that.
And I will kind of spoil that for you. Anyway, it's a bad movie. In Terrifier 3, they do a very gruesome and disgusting delete of someone that's a guy, and they kind of cut off the guy where's the tail at.
Of course, yeah. I mean, I heard there was one scene involving like an attic, I think, where it made the Terrifier actor like himself throw up on set. Which, by the way, friend Austin, you might get an interview with him, so we'll see. But yeah.
But
So yeah,
yeah, they redo what they did to the gal in the first one with the saw. They do it to a guy.
Yeah, not surprised, but yeah, I mean, like, just not true. Like, I mean, there's some pretty gruesome ones with guys in the first and second too, and sure,
Yeah.
there's some that aren't, and like, sure, there's more females who get it in like the first and second, but that's because there's more female characters, and the reason being is because it's paying homage to how those slasher films were mostly female like characters get in it, and then with the final girl trope. So like that's why that's all you idiots. And there were female characters who didn't have that gruesome of deaths too. So to like try to say that, like, you're just wrong. I'm sorry. Like, but whatever. They're stupid people anyway. But yeah, this is just whenever it's nothing much. Like, again, for considering the budget and everything, it's half decent. But yeah, I would never rewatch it though. And then also, just I do have to like go here, so I will just say like, and I don't really have anything to say about the second because I don't remember it too much. I'll have to like rewatch it. All I'll say is, it was an improvement over the first. Of course, they tried to add some story things to it and more memorable characters and some other aspects, which I did enjoy. Things that were kind of copied from other like horror films and games, but I was okay with it more because it was doing more of its own thing still. And yeah, I kind of it was more entertaining and more well done, with their bigger budget. I think the biggest issue though with the second for me is and this is the first time I think I'll ever say this and agree with Multi on it ever. Every other time, literally disagree. Like and we literally ask him, "What would you remove from it?" and he can't answer. But
Pacing.
this is the only time I'll say pacing because
The third one also has pacing issues.
yes, which I heard, and it feels like they were just doing it to try to push it to like 2 hours or so because
They did the same shit with the third one.
Many of the scenes in the second and third literally had no point of being that long. There were many scenes where they go on for like fucking 8 minutes, and you could have cut them down to like 3 or 4 minutes easily. And yeah, and the director said that the fourth and fifth Terrifier film will be shorter because people complained about it. So
I hope so. Fuck's sake! You don't need 2 hours about a goddamn slasher. There's no complexity. There's no goddamn layer. It's just people deleting others.
I mean, you can have that in slashers. There are really good ones, just not in this one. But again, people watch it for the
gore.
Villain and the gore with this one. Like, again, it's sort of like an event film, I guess. Best way to describe it is like the trauma films. We, at least the one we watched, Toxic Avenger, where it's like it's kind of like trashy, but that's the fun. That's the fun of it, though. Which I don't know if you've seen any others. I don't think you have. Like,
no.
Please, no. Good lord. I mean, did you know? I mean, there's some people who got their start with trauma films, though. Like James Gunn wrote a trauma film, and that's where he got his start with one of those toxic. Yeah, like it was Romeo and Juliet. Yeah, same guys who made Toxic Avenger, and then remember, he did Poltergeist, which is hilarious. And if you ever want to watch a film, Multi, that's like the most, it just offends everyone. Just watch Poltergeist. It is masterful at that. It will offend everyone ever.
I like being offended. That's great. Yeah. That's fun. So before you leave, what would be your grades for Terrifier 1 and 2?
The first one I would give it like a 3.5, and the second I would give it like a 4.5.
Well, perfect. Thank you very much for joining us for that Terrifier discussion, and hopefully we will see you soon again on stream. That was very fun having you on. Have a great day and take care.
Yeah, you too.
Perfect. Well, it's just you and I, so now we can go all in with spoiler if there's anything to spoil, Dlord. So I guess because we are already into Terrifier, let's talk about the second Terrifier, or actually, I should say, do you want to add anything on the first Terrifier?
Oh, really? It's funny how Cole has the same thing I said about it. And I ran it past one of my friends out of curiosity on the third one. And I showed him one of the scenes.
Yeah,
The couple, he said it kind of is. It's like, I don't criticize the way someone does something, but sometimes the vision of the artist outweighs the ability of the artist.
yeah,
Does that make sense?
it does.
You see it in Megapolis, you see it, it's like, I mean, I know you probably haven't seen Hellraiser, but
I didn't.
you never
Yeah.
will. It's kind of like, yeah, the Cenobites rip the skin off people and then try to take their souls down to hell, but there's a reason the person's alive, right?
Yeah,
But in this film, he kills them in all sorts of ways. And it's like, there's not that much blood in the human body. The person would pass out from trauma and
yeah,
bleed out.
yeah,
And you're like, so you're doing this for shock factor.
yeah.
Which, no offense, if you like the Fangora style of stuff, on you. But it's a weird film, as I said. I don't hate it, but it's not for me.
What would be your grade out of 10 for the first Terrifier?
I'm pretty fair. But for the genre it is, I give it like a 4 out of 10. But that's only because it's just not my kind of film.
Okay, well,
It's pretty fair if I had to give it. Understanding it's an independent horror film,
yeah,
it would be a 5 out of 10.
yeah.
But it's a good attempt. It is a really good attempt on the budget, really good vision, but it does have the pacing issues. And you would think you fix it. And I'm sorry, 2 hours, that's too long.
I agree, especially for a slasher like that.
And
But
let me say this.
we were talking about the original, not the second one yet.
No, I'm just saying,
yeah.
if you don't have it, if you're going to kill somebody like in a film, it's like you've seen the Halloween films. He just takes up. Michael Myers just takes it. He doesn't prolong the torture a little bit. He just slashes the person and kills them.
Yeah.
It's like a wham bam, thank you, man.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. Like, oh.
So I will say my grade. It's a 5.5 out of 10 for me for the original, the first Terrifier. And again, it's my favorite in the franchise. So it can only go downward.
All sequels go downward.
Yeah. And the third one takes a massive dump. So yeah, let's start talking about the sequel, Terrifier number 2. This time around, I will be starting as the camera is on me. So Terrifier 2, I came into it, I see the runtime, I was like, I hated the first one, and now the second one looks longer and worse. So I am very sorry again, any Terrifier fan. I hated the sequel so much. So my first issue with the sequel, just like the first one, too much blood for the sake of having blood. Pacing was bad. The opening credit sequence lasted way too long. The gore and the corpse didn't look that good. It looked very amateur-like. And I feel like the budget didn't go that much up with that one. I might be wrong. I don't know. You can look it up as I am as I am sharing my thoughts, and then after I'm sharing my thoughts, what's going on. After I have shared my notes, you can come back to me and tell me if the budget went higher with that one. Um, the next issue would be the first major woman victim that lost an arm, survived way too long, bleeding out. During the last big action piece, the characters feel like they are teleporting to be at the right place to follow the script. There's a long chase, and yet the characters reunite somewhat and somehow at the right place for the plot to happen. It's not believable at all. Everyone can withstand way too much injuries and lose way too much blood before they pass out or die. It's like that's only to add some gore. Issue number 7, pacing was bad. Clown got shot, everyone was injured, yet the movie still goes on. Issue number 8, none of the magic is explained, which is lazy and convenient, as anything can happen if the script wants it to happen. Maybe I'm wrong, I don't know. Am I crazy on that? Dlord, I will pass you the mic for a bit.
So not to correct you, but to point out, he got a $250,000 budget and made 15.7. So the thing is, right? The opening crawl is trying to explain what happened to the thing. Now, you see him talking to a girl, which is the pale girl, which is explaining probably why it's the demonic part, right? He only kills on Halloween kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it follows the theme of from the first, right, which you see Victoria return later on. But it's not like I'm not saying it. It's that whole thing of a lot of stuff in this series happens for happen's sake. Somehow, in the first, you start seeing it. He knows where to find everybody.
Yeah.
Or he just picks up on things. Like, it's like, okay. I mean, I've seen like weird, I'm not saying weird demonic or supernatural entities don't have a sense. Even in a film like Jeepers Creepers, right? The thing, but it doesn't remember stuff. Like it remembers, but like a year is different for it. You know?
I feel like the magic in Smile makes more sense than Terrifier. A lot more sense. And
The
maybe the
demon
point,
demon possession, you mean?
yeah, and maybe the point of Terrifier wasn't really the story and the lore. It's really like, oh, you crazy monster deletes people. Maybe that's really the point of Terrifier, and that franchise is just not for me. But I will let you keep going now.
No, but as I say, it's still the same formula. He just has a higher budget.
And it doesn't look like it. I'm sorry, but it doesn't.
And I mean, it's not about the proportion of the victims. It is still a Fangora style film. I mean, you're introduced to Seneschal, who plays a role, and she decapitates him and does whatever else. You're going through it.
Yeah.
But it's the whole idea he goes, oh, we need to explore the more fact it's just a psychotic person. Because I don't even think Halloween explained it until later on that Michael Myers has some supernatural myth to him.
Yeah.
Because it's like the first time you see him, he gets shot by the therapist person, Dr. Loomis,
Yeah.
and he somehow survives the bullet wounds.
Yeah.
Right. Except Art is just taking hits and then coming back. Okay. And it goes through the film where Senna beats him, not after many different deaths. Right.
Yeah.
Oh, well, you forget the whole fact. Her father said you're an angel or a avenging Valkyrie, and apparently you have a magic sword.
Yeah.
Remember that, the next one. And it's like, I am the Fangora style, but a lot of the violence goes on too long. And it's not that I say it's terrible. Maybe it's not for us.
Yeah.
And
Maybe.
then there is, I mean, it's not the best in its thing, but it's kind of like that indie horror flick. It's like, you're not really killing the clown.
Yeah.
It just is that same formula. He rises again. I mean, there's even the part where there's a portal to hell and she gets thrown into hell and she comes back. Because he has like, oh, do you remember I did the Ninth Circle short film? But look, it works for him, it works for people and fans of the genre.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's... And then it ends where he's going to go off with the next one. Victoria, from the first film, the disfigured lady, is in a hospital, and then she gives birth to Art's head.
Yeah.
And she gets possessed by the pale girl.
Yeah.
But, I mean, what's the point of the film? The cycle continues. He never dies.
Yeah.
And I guess you come back and kill who tried to kill you. And I mean, weird killer clown does funny things. Kills people with inventive objects.
This, I admit, that's true.
And that's actually the interesting part to it. He invents gadgets to kill people.
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, that's all I have to say on 2. It's not like it starts to get that weird turn that someone starts believing she's an angel. You know what's funny? I was thinking about this too. They're doing the whole have you seen the Freddy movies yet?
No, I didn't.
There's like Dream Warriors. They go, well, so you want to combat Freddy in a dream? Think of your magical dream power. Except suddenly, Senna has the power of an avenging angel with a sword.
Yeah. So I guess that's my go because you're done.
Yeah.
I was overly negative, but I admit there's a few aspects because the second one is not the worst one yet. Not yet. So the swap of the mother being scared of her son and the sister believing the brother made sense. I liked it because at first the mother is like, "Oh yeah, your brother's fine," and then the sister is like, "No, he's not." And then later on, the sisters, based on her experience, realizes maybe he is fine. And yeah, it was well shown how the villain sees the little girl when the others don't really see her, because that was shown in the laundromat, or I don't know the name of the place it was in, but that's one of the first weird scenes where the guy just sees a crazy clown talking to himself. That was hilarious. I mean, that part was funny. Um, Glasses Kid being able to see both the clown, maybe uh, the the clown and the daughter, basically, or the girl, I should say. He is maybe different because he's able to see both. Um, Now the action was really good when there was action. The music again was decent. It's not as good as Smile, but it was decent and enjoyable, I guess. So that's all I have to say. Like, the second one I thought was too long, but yeah, I've seen worse. The third one. What would be your grade out of 10 for the second Terrifier?
I'm nice. I give it I give it slightly less. I give it like that's a definite 4 out of 10 for me. I mean, if we're talking plot convenience happens,
I thought the first one was a bit worse on that aspect, but the pacing really hurts the second one.
it no, when you start taking into the whole not magical or supernatural aspect, and then you don't explain your magic system or the reason why. Settings are made or broken by how you explain your system. Like if you're explaining he's a demonic entity, it's like saying, "Oh, you have a holy item." Right, maybe it would hurt it, right?
Yeah,
But it's like, "Oh, Senna just beats him." Okay. But not before there's a bunch of deaths and he still kind of gets away.
yeah.
But he gets away differently in this one. I'm
I
like,
will I will say I'm just like you. I will give a 4.5 out of 10 um for the second one. So it's a small downgrade. Um so do you want to add anything on Terrifier 2?
good. It's I feel the first one is the best one. I just feel you can tell his vision is starting to grandiose, right? You start to see the grandiosity because if you're going to explain a system, right? You get what I'm saying, right, Multi? If
Yeah,
he's
I
trying
do.
to explain it, right? Oh, that's why art is able to do what he does.
Yeah,
It makes more sense, right?
it does.
It's like you don't have to tell it, but you can show it. And this is what he starts to do in this. Now, does it change the way you want to do with the story? Potentially, yes.
Yeah.
But that's what I'll say on that. And it gets into 3. So as I said, it starts getting that he's evolves themes. But there's that point his vision outweighs what he's capable of.
Yeah. So we reached 3, the third one. Um I will let you start on that one.
Okay, so 3 picks up where the last one left off. She had just given birth to the head and given her body to the pale girl. Okay. a person hears it, because supposedly up until now Victoria is a model patient despite being disfigured and having her face eaten. Don't ask me how. I mean, and the attendant on duty is actually Chris Jericho. Which gets murdered, and it's like some of the horror effects, right, are like, I don't know if they're cheap or what they cost. Like they use them. It's weird. And I look at it, and then she escapes, right? Then it picks up. But there's a disturbing thing in the opening, though. Now, what's getting people with this film? I mean, maybe Kaya. Sorry, Kalia's your name. I saw you maybe in was the other stream, not ours, but Will's stream. We'll screen you.
Oh, I
But
see.
so the idea is, do you show children being murdered?
That happens sometimes, you know.
Happens sometimes.
That's dark, but that's why I think it's aimed at young adults.
Like, because the opening, right, is a Christmas day. A little girl is like, oh, I hear there's Santa on a roof or something. And the parents are like, the father's like overworked, needs to sleep. The mother's doing the thing, tries to comfort the daughter, right, and say, do whatever. She starts hearing it. Like, there's something there. And this goes on for 10 minutes. Then you see him, the front door's unlocked. And the wife goes upstairs and goes, how did the person get in? Then apparently Art just appears somewhere. And the girl thinks it's Santa. And then the girl doesn't think of anything when he pulls out an axe. Then she just kind of hides. Then goes up the stairs and she hears her brother get killed first. Woken up. Somehow nobody wakes up in the house.
She's the only one.
She's the only one.
But not only she witnessed that delete,
the brother
like
gets killed first and gorily dismembered. Then the father is killed first. The mother wakes up and screams, and then it's like, oh, he's trying to like mock because Art can't speak or doesn't speak, which is fine. Very good telling. But I'm like, okay. I mean, you just brutally dismember somebody. I don't know how well of a sound sleeper you are. But this is why I said a lot of people initially couldn't get past. They show the murder of the kid, then the mother's going down the hall and sees her kid dismembered. Even I wince at that. I'm like, what?
There's one thing I start thinking back again, and I will admit I'll give them credit because I didn't see it as I was watching it. I just realized it as we talk about the movie right now. But that movie is really, really dark when it comes to parenting because the kids are deleted before the parents, which is not natural at all. And I don't know how much of that is really in purpose and clever.
That happens in the mall scene later on too.
Yeah, yeah. That's why I'm like, I don't know if it's clever or, yeah, maybe it is. I don't know. I will let you keep going. I just disrupted the flow.
No, you think about it, because that's a theme in here as well. Because later on in the mall, he blows up. He's targeting the kids too.
With the rat cage as well.
Now the rat cage is Senna's brother.
Yeah, but I know that's the plot twist, but the mother thought that was her kid.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so the mother was like, "Oh no, I lost my kid," and
And they
then that's
wanted
the
she
plot
wanted to get
twist. They're
they
like,
get that
"No,
to.
that's the brother."
And the question is, do you bring children into it?
Hell no, except if you want to traumatize them. That's
Because
why
the
I'm
whole
saying
skit, right,
Terrifier is for young adults.
the first 10 minutes, and this is like right after he's killed the family, he washes, drinks the milk, eats the cookies left for Santa, drinks the milk, washes the glass, and sticks it on the thing. And then waves at the girl like he hears the girl underneath the thing, waves at her, and leaves the house.
But you see, that cookie scene was weird. Okay, so during that cookie scene, I was like, okay, maybe I was misinterpreting that entire movie franchise, and maybe it's a satire to mock horror tropes, horror movies. Maybe the movie doesn't take itself seriously. I was really hoping for that for the entire movie. I was like, maybe that movie is 4D chess. Outsmart me. But then I get to talk to others and they're like, maybe not. So I don't know what to think. I'm gonna let you go on now.
Well, you bring it up. Is it 4D chess to do shock horror?
Or to try to say, oh, this is satire, this is humor, this is not meant to be taken seriously.
I have dark humor. Okay, just give you an idea, Multi. What I find sometimes funny in shows, not everyone finds funny.
Yeah,
Like I'm of the generation. I understand South Park and Family Guy and other stuff like that, right?
yeah.
Satire. But I don't see satire and humor in a your house. I hear coughing.
Yeah.
So I wish you the best. Don't get sick.
Hopefully I
It
will not.
it sucks, by the way.
Yeah.
But no, the the idea is he's just joyfully killing people. I
Yeah.
need humor in my slasher flick.
That's why I started thinking maybe
My
it's
God.
4D Jason and I'm too stupid and I don't get the movie. That's why in the third one I was like, maybe, just maybe it's humor.
Oh no. You remember after the scene in the asylum, he goes into the bar with the Santa. No, sorry, far forget. The demonically possessed girl cuts herself and bleeds herself out in a tub. He falls asleep upstairs in a rocking chair. Okay, goes to sleep for 5 years. He wakes up suddenly because of a demolitions crew plot. Then gets in and goes down. I guess they're doing separate plots now. He goes into a bar, kills people in a bar, and steals a Santa suit, like lights the guy on fire, not fire, but like
Ice.
freezes his body parts.
Yeah.
Yes. and steals his beard. I have to be missing something here.
No.
I really do. I'm sitting here watching this, and I'm like, I was checking out some other reviews. Even some said traumatizing the children could go too far.
Yeah, that's why you don't bring your child to watch that movie. I think.
Him using children
Oh, yeah,
in the film.
yeah.
Not only is he killing the parents,
You're right.
he's leaving
No.
the children alive. It's worse. Remember he left the little girl alive earlier?
But well, that's up to interpretation. Let's be honest. Maybe he just ended her life.
Okay, there might be kills off screen
because they show you the axe, so maybe there's an int. Maybe he slashed her as well, but they didn't want to waste CG or whatever or fake blood. I don't know. Or maybe I want to art to give credit where credit is not necessarily due. I don't know.
I mean, do you want to cross that line and say he, after brutally murdering the parents, waves and kills the lone survivor?
Yeah.
Because remember we said the story of the final girl kind of idea.
Yeah.
Oh, because there is actually a theme they start to develop. To manifest things into the world, you need a person to have suffered a massive trauma at the hands of the demon. So maybe that's why he left the girl alive. So he could come talk to her in about 15 or 16 years. Let's assume she's 7. So, okay, so a decade to manifest a new demon. Whatever. Okay, concept is still... Correct me if I'm wrong. It's still a iffy concept.
Yeah, that can make sense actually. So maybe he did spare her.
Like he
spared... see, now we talk about that movie. I won't say the movie got better, but it got more interesting.
It gets more interesting. I'm like, okay. And then there's the murders. Some of the murders. Cinna's brother, there's eventually the point you're too stupid to survive.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, she gets out of the mental institution. I mean, might as well go over it because you'll have your points. I'd love to see what points you pick out are bad. This is my whole thing.
And there's a lot of rinse and repeat, but keep going. Sorry.
So in the mall, right? And not even in the mall. It's like apparently the girl is really fascinated with Senna because it's like an aunt thing, right? Or a cousin.
Every kid's like Santa.
Oh yes. I think every kid. No, Senna. Senna's the name of the woman who got out of the institution. She's the one from the previous film, the decapitated Art.
Yeah.
So the plot demands her. They convince her none of that stuff happens. But at dinner, she starts talking to because she has survivor guilt.
Yeah.
And she sees her dead friend. Looks like something out of Hellraiser.
Yeah.
You know, dead skin, slashed, whatever else. And then they start thinking she's going crazy. And it's like, well, maybe not, right? She calls her brother. Well, maybe Art is back. I'm seeing things. And the brother's like, nah, it's nothing. They're just downing psychiatric pills. I'm like, this doesn't go well. I've seen enough. And then it gets through, like, sees him in the mall. She hears the clown thing. And Art just looks over and then walks right off. Like, does the weird, like, creepy demon head turn. Sees her, and I guess he knows that's her. And then just walks off to go blow up kids and be Santa. Then blow up the mall. And then there's like 3 or 4 just major kill scenes. And then you don't see the brother killed, but when he gets to the dormitory where it is, because he's listening to the one chick the girl who is the girlfriend of the guy's friend, of Jonathan's friend. Now, I'm like, don't do this. Literally the trope of Art's going to wait till they're having sex to kill them. I had to stop this, and I'm like, I put my head to my forehead, and I'm like, rub my temple, and I'm like, they're going to do this. Look, I pay to watch this on a cider just so, because I'm like, you can't ask me to, and I'm like, a 2-hour film should not take 3 hours to get to. 3.5 hours. Beauty of just, it's like Amazon Prime and other stuff I have. I can just, and I'm like, and I'm just like putting it, like rubbing my temples, and I'm like, I know what you're going to do. And then there's this grotesque, long drawn out scene where they get murdered in the shower.
Yeah.
Where I'm sure the loss of blood, they would have been dead in minutes.
Yeah. Minute? You mean second, bro? Like you
second.
Bury him on, you pass out.
Well, he cuts the guy's like leg off before that.
Do you remember the Santa? That bugged me so much. He froze Santa. Santa was still alive despite being frozen.
Santa,
and he was moving
like
his
lives frozen, living the best life, like in the whole bar. Like, I'm like, okay. Actually, I thought, okay.
That's why I started thinking that was satire. There's no way in hell this movie can be serious. No.
No, the murder in the bar makes more sense. Him being jovial and then him murdering people.
But that's hilarious because the guy's frozen, but he moves his eye. Like,
no, he's not entirely frozen. It freezes the wound enough. Because I'm going to be honest with you. The idea of freezing a limb and shattering it, it can be done. It takes more than just a can of liquid nitrogen to do it.
Yeah.
Okay? But I'm not going to say things people do occasionally. It just freezes enough of the flesh, nothing happens. And I'm just like, oh boy. And when you get through the film, right, you're getting through these parts after the scene. Not only the girls there getting tortured, right? This is also the girl who's, I want to see a killer's eyes. Because Art's been listening the whole time. Yes. This is why the meta humor in it is, there's meta humor.
I swear, I thought that was a comedy.
Mike! And he does it to mock her. She's had her skull portionately ripped open. I'm like, she still hasn't, she's conscious enough to look him in the eyes. I'm like, no.
She doesn't have passed out. But again, that's a goddamn trope with this movie franchise.
It's awful. And you brought this up earlier. He gets sodomized with a chainsaw.
Yeah.
That was another moment I just stopped it. I was like, what
That
should
was
I say?
disgusting.
What? Just what?
And I told you about that really annoying person because I did see the movie in theater. That really annoying person in the same row. I moved row, and during that specific scene, that person stopped checking her phone and she was enjoying her time because that was a goddamn woman being like, "Oh, a guy got sodomized with a chainsaw." I swear that person was the worst person ever in the theater. She
I'm
was
like,
texting the entire time. No, really, I will let you go on now.
I'm pretty sure if you saw that scene, it's gonna make you do a double take. I'm like, did he bisect the person? No, he went out of his way to sodomize him with a saw.
Yeah, that's a
Okay.
throwback to the first one,
Okay.
but now that's a guy instead of a woman.
All right. It gets worse after he's been like flipped over. He then bisects him. And the guy's still alive somehow.
I don't know how.
I
He
would
should have died. Just
It was-
losing the leg should have at least knocked him out, and then being cut like that, the pain and the blood. There's no way you're alive.
and he bisects the person, the friend of Jonathan's. And I
Yeah.
guess at some point I think it was Victoria that went and killed Jonathan.
Yeah.
I mean, she's been in the film so for a while. And it's like, and then you get to the final act where they get into the family. Because I think it's Art that kills the husband outside trying to pick up Jonathan.
Yeah.
They pay more than that. Then they take it, and then you get to the final act. At least she remembers you need to kill the pale girl first.
Yeah.
Now there's this whole thing of where there's a whole torture with a crown of thorns. You want to open up a present. Art smashes her hands with a hammer. By this point, I have the 1,000-yard stare of, I'm not squeamish. I'm just like, really? And it's the whole thing of, and she goes, well, let her open up a present, and she finds the sword. And I'm like, okay, so there's going to be some redeeming qualities. All right.
Yeah.
Because it's the sword from the last film.
Yeah.
Well, the holy sword, so to speak.
Yeah.
And then slashes Art's throat because it's a holy weapon. He nearly bleeds out on the ground, and he has to heal. Then she takes out the pale girl. But this isn't before Jill has a pipe wrenched down her throat and fed rats.
Yeah.
No. But it's like it ends, and then like the pale girl's head starts to melt and creates a portal to hell. But Senna can't save her because she wants to finish off Art, but she doesn't want Gabriella to die, which I guess. But she still falls into hell with the sword. Mark my words, if there's a Terrifier 4, that girl's going to escape hell with that sword.
No, the sword was still with the main character because
No,
she used the sword and she slashes through the clown after they have a fight.
but no,
The
and then
thing.
right, no. Then she goes and tries to grab the bladed end of the sword and
But
has
the
the
end
girl
slip and
hold,
she falls.
and then the sword falls into hell with
Are
the
you
girl.
sure the sword fell?
Yes, I want to say so. Yeah.
I'm not sure, but I will trust you because you've seen it
You got to go
in your
back and
place.
maybe go back and see it. I had to do a little
No, no, I'm not wasting more time on that movie.
But it's a
I've
film
wasted enough
of
time.
it's, and then her wounds heal on her thing, hinting she's divine.
Yeah,
You see little hints of it. This is where I start to say the artist's vision outweighs what he's capable of doing. Now, not only have you raised the stake, Sienna is the chosen child to kill the demon.
and she will have unlimited plot armor.
And I saw a review. I was like, so I'm not crazy.
I don't think so.
Apparently, they're going to try to say she's going to fight Art in hell. Oh, and by the way, Art, even though he's been stabbed and others, still boards a bus. There's this thing with him boarding a train or a bus in all of these films.
Yeah,
And no one is bothered by a weird killer in blood boarding a bus.
well, it's Halloween.
It's Christmas.
I don't know, bro.
It's
At
in
that point, I
Christmas in
stopped
this
thinking.
film.
That movie
It's
doesn't want you to think. Why should I?
It's no okay. So it's Christmas in this film, right?
Yeah,
He boards the bus bloody, and there's only other one woman reading there. No one thinks about it. And then he does the honking horn, and it's like, okay, I'll let you do your thing, but this is just, I don't know where you go from here.
more
It,
delete people, more blood, more victims.
like, you can't get creative. Again, there's lines you sometimes don't cross. Like with the children, that's what some people couldn't get past the children killing.
It's a goddamn movie. Stop being a child yourself.
Well,
Like, I'm not saying bring your kids there, don't, but I'm saying like you're an adult. If you're watching this movie, hopefully you're an adult.
hopefully you
Like,
don't bring a kid, and
yeah,
hopefully you know horror tropes. Because I would love to know what you think is wrong with the third. It's not even the pacing issue, which
and
I.
pacing is an issue for me.
It's a 2-hour film.
It feels like a movie that could have been done in 1 hour and a half. Like the big chunk early in the movie could have been cut, and I feel like
Yeah.
if I would rewatch, I would find even more stuff I would cut. I would cut as well because this movie just doesn't justify 2 hours.
What is it? Even look at Venom 3. I know you didn't like it. That's only an hour 35 minutes.
And still, the pacing was kind of shit because I would cut the
Pacing
entire
wasn't as
family.
shit. It's still better storytelling.
I will admit that. Yeah, you're right. On that, you're right. But the bar is so low. Why do you compare both?
But
We are doing limbo now.
but okay, I like that one compared to this, but I shouldn't be checking a clock when I want to. I'm like, okay, this is gonna go on too long.
Yeah.
I'm just like, I've seen this trope before. It's not even the final girl trope. It's, oh, she discovers some magical MacGuffin that kills people. I'm
That's the
like,
movie for you.
it's, look, I'd love to see what you say is wrong.
Look, so
It's just so bad. I bet it's the same stuff. I'll
the the challenge here is I did see it in theater, and usually all I do it in theater, I use my finger to remember how many issues I had, and I vaguely remember some of it. And the moment I see the end credit roll, I start typing notes in my cell phone the second the movie is over. But sometime it happened with Borderland, and it happened again here because a lot of the issues I have just rinse and repeat. So in total, throughout the movie, I had 12 issues. But again, some of these issues they kept coming back. Which one? Unfortunately, I can't remember exactly because I just wanted to leave the cinema once I was done with that movie. I was like, enough. um so I did take my notes as usual. My first issue was pacing was bad. The start of the movie felt filler until the story picks up to present day after the family died and the free caught herself in the bed. So basically anything before the asylum could be caught, and it's an easy 15-20 minutes.
Okay, let me say this. That opening crawl with him murdering the family and sparing the girl has nothing to do with the rest of the film.
That's why I caught it. That's why it's just blood for the sake of it. And maybe they do it because they know they do a fourth and a fifth, so maybe that little girl will come back in the fourth and the fifth. But if that's the case, don't waste time with that daughter in the third one because you won't use her anyway later. Do it with your fourth or your fifth. I don't care. Like, I hate the fact that it was made in the third one. You don't need this shit. It's just violence for the sake of it. But I guess that's the genre, that's the movie. Issue number 2. The kid in the house waited for the mother to scream to go hide and be scared of the villain. So that's still on that first 15 to 20 minutes. So, like, we were very early in the movie and I was already about to tap out. I was like, so the kid hears boom, boom, bam. She thinks her brother died and she stays there in the stairs looking upstairs and waiting. Why? A kid would freak out. A kid would run. It doesn't make sense. Then the guy does the killing of the father and the mother in the other room. You hear the mother scream, then the daughter wakes up and is like, oh, it's about time to run. So she start running. It doesn't add up. It's stupid. Kids are easy to scare. Especially that one that was afraid that someone was on the rooftop. So it doesn't make any sense that she would wait for her mother to scream and then die to run and hide. It doesn't make sense. Maybe I nitpick too much, but I found that really stupid. Acting and or directing was bad. I feel like most of the actor and actress involved, I don't know, like they took the cheapest people they could and they were like, here's what you need to do. I don't know, maybe I'm too harsh. Usually I don't criticize acting, but here I feel like it was off. It felt like an amateur movie, even more than the other ones, and I feel like this one had more budget. There's something wrong. um, the next issue would be, in many instances in the movie, it tried to be funny when it wasn't. It happened so much that I started to believe the movie itself wasn't, in fact, to be taken seriously. It felt like a bloodier spin on Scream, a parody. I'm not quite sure if that was the purpose. And just because of me saying that and thinking that, I was like, man, the tone is messy. Like, am I supposed to find that funny or shocking? maybe I misunderstood the movie. I don't know. But that aspect bothered me so much. I hated this shit. Next up would be um again, in many places, people just simply lost way too much blood for the human body to carry, like the bathroom. Hell, even at the end, when the main character is on the chair with the bunch of injuries, and even in the bar, like every single instance where there's a delete people, they just have like more than 4 to 6 liter of blood. I swear, a normal human adult body has 4 to 6 liter of blood, but what we see is far more than that. Hell, even the kid, a kid has less blood than an adult. It's logic. I don't know how much exactly, but my guess is it's between 3 to 5 liter of blood. 5 is when you're like a teenager. So a kid should have around 3 to 4 liter of blood. So having a room that bloody, I get it. It got cut in pieces. But it's so over the top. So that thing makes me believe maybe it's a satire. Maybe it's a parody.
Sorry to interrupt, but but yeah, it brings me back to what I said in the whole, I kind of leave it out, the whole thing when he murders. He waits sadistically to murder them. He goes, oh, they're going to have sex. And he does the O face like he's going to wait. And then when they're in the shower, he hears them doing it. He intentionally, it's like an Acme cartoon where he's sneaking up in the bathroom. Is that humor? No idea.
I think it was meant to be funny, but it wasn't. So again, it didn't work for me. Issue number 6, Santa in the bar got frozen, yet he was still able to make some noise and move his eye when pain itself should have at least make him lose consciousness. And then he got deleted. The next issue would be the blonde girlfriend character was atrocious. Her entire personality is her true crime podcast, and she didn't feel like a well-written character. She felt like the character that's here to die, and that's the character you will enjoy watching dying and such. So I hated that character so much, and I understand why she was there. She was there to showcase some people are not sensitive toward that kind of true crime, and how people can be messed up by just thinking on their own point of view and being self-absorbed so much that they can trigger trauma in other people. I get that aspect, but that character is just trash. If it
There's
would
actually no on that. There's actually a point in the film which is actually redeeming.
no,
When she's trying to farm trauma from both the brother and her, and when Cinna goes off on her for making light of the trauma she experienced.
they didn't.
They
redeem
should
it.
have said, she goes, well, oh, I feel shit. But then there's the other.
If they really worked on that character, instead of having the other scene where she complains that her boyfriend, look, they do you think I still have chances to have them on my podcast? Instead of having that kind of stupid scene where we get it, she's self-absorbed, she triggers trauma within people, we get it, that's your character. Instead of having another scene to reinforce that shit, that stupid character that's brain dead, basically, you should have gotten a scene where she talks to the boyfriend and she's like, I feel like shit. Maybe I should apologize or some shit like that. You get a scene like that, issue solved. The character makes sense. But now it's just like, I'm here to be annoying. I'm here because I want to criticize people that are not sensitive. That's my only purpose. Oh, and dying on a very bloody and atrocious way. that kind of character in movies in general, I hate them. I feel like your character, you should work on them. You're telling a story. Here they criticize stuff, and I like the messaging, but because the character is trash, the character that tells the message, it doesn't work. I'm sorry, it didn't work. Um, I wish it did, and I'm sure if the person wasn't so focused on the blood and the gore, I'm sure if the person was focused on a character driven story or a trauma driven story more than just, oh, look at how shocking I can be, I think we could have gotten a great commentary on people not being sensitive enough. But again, the focus is not there. The message seemingly appears to be here, but it's all about blood and delete people. Because of that, I cannot stand this movie. And again, I said I had 12 issues, but because I didn't really take extensive notes as the movie went on, and I just counted on my fingers each time I had something wrong. And then after the movie, I marked down what I had to say. Well, among these 7 issues I mentioned, humor came back for sure. And I'm sure pacing as well. I can bet there's at least 2 other or 3 other moments. Um, the people, the demolition team, I can't remember if they were before the asylum or after. Were they before the asylum or after the asylum?
They were after the asylum because
Pacing.
that's when they after they got back from the asylum, and
So-
then after she got back, they went there, and I guess he needed to sleep.
Yeah.
And the possessed girl, who's now part demon or whatever, slits her wrist and she falls asleep.
No, that slits her wrist. I know it's before that. The slits her wrist because the demolition guys, they find the
It's
girl
before.
in the
No, that's why I said after the
Yeah.
asylum, and this is when they've been asleep for 5 years.
Yeah, but again,
Then the demolition guys come in and supposedly disturb them.
Yeah, but that these 2 demolition guy, they were filler. That part was just there because more blood, more victims.
It's it's unnecessary. It's kind of like the plot. They go, we got charged to demo this house after 5 years. Well, what?
What if that was before? Or what if they didn't lurk around and found them? Anyways, I ate that shit. Now I did sound overly negative. Well, there's 2 good things. I guess the action was decent and nobody was safe in the movie. And I think it's great. But that's it. That's the only 2 redeemable quality. I feel like I wasted $8 and I wasted 2 hours of my time. Do you want to add more on Terrifier 3? I feel like we are beating a dead horse.
It's weird. It's weird. Like, some of the stuff just feels like it's a trope that goes slightly a little further. He was given, I guess, a $2 million budget, and the box office was 51.
Wow.
So now I'm not saying his success is shit, right?
Well, there's an audience. We are just not it. But
we're not the audience.
Yeah.
But when the girl like makes fun of the trauma, it's like, I want you on my podcast. She doesn't realize Senna has trauma.
Yeah.
I mean, even if it is Survivor's thing, but I look at it as, I can only think that the franchise gets weirder as it goes on. Either A, she's going to go down to hell and retrieve the cousin, right? Or the niece,
Yeah.
basically. And no, it's the niece. And get the sword back or whatever. And then something's going to happen. But I'm like, what are you going to do next?
Yeah.
I'm just like, I'm not. Look, I can only look at, dismembered body parts, and I mean, it's not really plots and the. You're right. We may not be the target audience, but I tried to place myself in a person who likes the kind of stuff. Even
We
I've
can't.
heard.
If we are not the target audience, we can't.
You know what's though? It's
That's the
funny.
truth.
I was even in, as I said, some of the reviews. They said some of the gore goes extreme. I'm like, yeah,
Not really. It's the fact that it has no really purpose outside of, oh, look how shocking it can be.
I mean, shocking aspect works enough without it. But no, I'm not trying to be a dead horse. It's like I said, he does pretty well. I was gonna actually see before we get out of here. I'm curious.
Well, we haven't talked about Small 2 yet.
No, but no. Let me forward the. I want to see what. Not that I say Rotten Tomatoes is what they say it is.
Well,
It's 78, 86.
I'm not surprised.
I
Well, I'm surprised Critic has it so high.
Yeah.
Critic has it so high? What?
76, 86.
What?
Yeah.
How many critics were reviewing this?
101.
Are you kidding me? Critics
104. 104. Sorry.
Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe I nitpick too much. I don't know.
But we're not the targeted audience, right?
Yeah, but even there, I feel like my issues are genuine. Like, this really feels for me like the worst Terrifier movie. And I'll go deeper and further with this. It's the fourth worst movie this year for me. And I've seen 62 movies now. So I guess it's the perfect moment to reveal our grade out of 10 for whatever this movie was. In my end, it's 2.5 out of 10, which is really low considering my metrics. And I'd rather watch anything else but that. Like, there was a very bad Bob Marley movie this year. I would rather watch that than whatever Terrifier was.
You're talking about the biopic?
Yeah. That was like a live concert with a bit of a wannabe story. But yeah, so Dlord, what would be your grade out of 10 for Terrifier 3?
I give it I really give it I give it a 4 because it has elements better than the second and some that make it better than the first. But overall, it's still under the first. It's a return, but it doesn't make it a film. But then again, neither of us are the targeted audience. And not that we're sensitive. It's just...
I don't care about blood and gore.
That doesn't sell it.
Yeah.
As I said, I
like...
As I said, I like Hellraiser. I like the Halloween franchise. I like Friday the 13th.
I like the first two Saw. Even the second one was somewhat decent.
Saw. I get it. But
and Smile has a lot of disgusting shit going on in it, and I liked it.
Yeah, no, Smile has disgusting stuff, but it's not that.
Yeah.
But no, we can move on to
Smile 2.
Smile 2. I'll say I like it. It's better to me. It's better than the first because I think the opening is a little weird, like how he passes on the curse,
Yeah.
right? Like it's like, well, and then when you get to the plot, I like the twist in the plot. It's
Me
at
too.
least a little harder to spot.
Yeah.
You start to think maybe something is off,
Yeah.
but you don't suspect something is off.
Yeah. And I sorry to interrupt you, but you mentioned the opening scene, and I feel like we brushed over a bit too quick about that. But that opening sequence, the action was really cool, and the idea that he would go after guilty people, that was really
That makes
cool.
more sense to give them the curse. And
Yeah.
then you know what's funny?
What?
They don't pay any homage to it. I'm surprised it wasn't in the rest of the film. Do you remember he saw a burning body? A burning person nearby?
Yeah, that was the girl in the first one,
It's the
the
girl at
psychiatrist,
first.
the
Or is
psychiatrist.
that the thing that possessed her that was nearby?
Yeah, because
Right.
he witnessed the death of the girl, so
And
he
yeah,
got the
and
monster.
then apparently as he's driving and he knows it's getting closer, before he goes in and you see on the other side of the fence, you see like a burning figure
Yeah,
that is the demon possessing the spirit of the former host.
yeah,
And you're like, oh. And then it's like he meant to pass it on to the guilty party.
yeah.
Or a
And
guilty.
I will go further with this. Um, Usually I nitpick a lot. And I'm like, plot convenience is bullshit. But here, I know exactly what they were doing. I think Carl Gellner got maybe not skyrocket, but they knew the guy would cost more because that's a sequel, and they still wanted to keep him as one of the as one of the names involved, as one of the characters because it was there in the first one, and he is a bridge between the first one and the sequel. But they didn't really want an entire story focus around him because again that would cost more money because that's the sequel. So they needed an interesting way to get rid of him. And this is why he goes there, pew pew people, create another trauma victim. When he leaves, um, in a very heroic way or anti-hero ish, whatever, a car hits him and deletes him. I was like, okay, that's very brutal as an opening sequence, but that was the bridge between the first one and the second one, and they really did that because they wanted another character to be the main focus. And I thought that was very interesting as a sequel. Sequel don't usually do that. Sequel are like, we will try to have the same character, but here they just get rid of the guy and on a banger way because that was cool. He just went inside, boom, boom, he left and died.
I
I
mean,
I I like
the
that stand up.
idea is, it's kind of the idea that he maybe escaped it, but when he got creamed by the car, I was like, no, that's wow. I
Okay.
was like, God, like he just did the whole thing of he passed it along, then he got creamed by the car. It's
So
like,
even if you pass it along, you still die.
like okay, um, I don't know how to explain that. It's like I'm just like, well, that's a brutal way to start the film. I'm invested. I And then you see later on, you're like, it doesn't gloss over it because it does have good way it gets. And then it gets passed to her because the guy who's a drug dealer is going crazy in his apartment.
Yeah.
And it's like, but it is a repeat of the first film. She's dealing with a trauma of her past. She's dealing with a car wreck. She's dealing with being an addict. She's dealing with having to be in a spotlight. But what I like about the second more than the first is, I'm going to ask you this. How much of the film do you think is real or in her head?
I think that one is a lot more in her head than the first one, and I think this is the most interesting part of it because um, I knew from the get-go um, that when she was talking to her best friend, I knew that was a play from the monster. I was like, there's no way else someone would suddenly decide to text back after leaving it that way or even beat like that. So I knew it from the get-go that most of what was going on was fake. And the more I think about it, the more I'm like, okay, maybe the only things that really happens are the things when she is at the show and anything that's related to the music itself. And
Do you
of
mean like
course,
the art show? Like the
yeah,
one?
each time
Yeah.
she goes on stage or when she gets to meet people, that's when it's real. But the moment she is alone, she imagined thing. That's not reality. And this is why at some point you're like, oh, she is hospitalized and she deletes her mother and at first as I was watching, I thought she genuinely deleted the mother. But thinking back, she imagined that from the get-go, getting at the hospital in the first place. Um, I think that movie has rewatch value because I'm sure I will have another reading on it when I get to see it again. But you ask me right now, I've seen the entire thing. I will tell you that only what happened in the show and in public is real. Uh, the guy she met at the bar that tried to help her didn't exist.
You don't think that he didn't exist?
But I realized it after finishing the movie. As I
You
was
think
watching, I
about
didn't
that
realize it.
because, well, did she knock over the person at the old lady at the benefit concert?
Yeah, she was in public, so that was real.
And then she's in public, and then the black guy comes up to her and says, "Oh, but I saw that video of you knocking over the girl at the old woman."
Maybe
Was
that
that in
black
the
guy,
head too?
yeah, that
Yeah.
was in her head to make her guilty and feel like shit.
See, this begs the question of how much was it compared to the first? Was she that far gone?
Yeah. Um, Again, I think only the public moments, the very public moment, are real, but most of the rest of what's going on is not real.
Like her being subtly haunted in her head in the apartment, like she's trying to do
Any
music.
apartment scene, it didn't happen.
Okay. That's why I like it. It's better than the first.
Yeah, that's
Like,
why I say slightly.
that's why I ask you, because as I was watching it, I'm thinking, when you think of the twist, how much of this is actually, because even towards the end, it's like, oh, I already have you. When he it locks her in the closet and tells her to go out and break a leg. That's like the day of her tour.
Yeah.
Now, I do not want to get to speculation if they try to say the demon infests many other people. Or it's just
Okay.
going to go to
We
one
are
person.
going that way. You know what? That's my issue with the ending. It made sense that she would delete herself on stage because that was part of her trauma as well, because she got forced upon herself by her mother, that carrier she liked, but like that wasn't her choice. That was clearly the mother's choice. So I think it made sense that she would delete herself on stage like that. That's a great way to go out. The villain wins, and it tells you that if you get overwhelmed by something, it will eat you. And her carrier ate her. She died because of her carrier. I thought that would be an amazing ending. But I think my issue with that, and again, I won't hold it against the movie because I think it's a great way to go out. What I hate is how it can tease endless freaking sequels.
It does.
Why?
Actually, that is my issue. I hate the ending. I hate that ending because if you look at the rule of the universe, and correct me if I'm wrong,
Everyone is infected.
everyone who looked at it at the concert is infected.
Even the people watching on TV. So again, I think it made sense. That's a good ending for a movie. But what I truly hate is the fact that they did that because they want to milk out that franchise as much as they can until I start eating it.
So it doesn't communicate with what fully happens, because the idea is you see it progressing, like, oh, maybe it's in her head, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it feels like, okay, but it leaves that bait ending, and it's, what's the rule for transmission?
You need to cause trauma to pass it down to someone else.
And I'm pretty sure she caused the trauma for everybody at the concert.
Yeah.
And undoubtedly, you just created the equivalent to a pandemic
Yeah.
at a concert. But I'm really hoping that the people don't go at the directors go at that. It's
That
like,
movie will make money, so you can bet the studio will be like, when is the third one?
oh, we're gonna
We
come
don't
out.
need it, but they will do it.
No, well, and just so this is, they may not do this.
No, they will. I swear. I'm telling you.
No, if they go
This
with the
is why
sequel,
they did it.
no, if they go into the sequel, right? A bunch of people just died because we now have a mysterious pandemic of people dying by walking into the streets, killing themselves, and we do not know why.
This is the end of the world.
This is the end of the world, and suddenly half of New York City has killed themselves. Oh. No,
Smile.
don't do that. Don't do that. No, please don't do that. Please don't. No.
No.
I know that's why you hated the ending. I hated it too.
But again, I think it's a great ending, but I hate why they did it. And I don't want to see a third one, but they will force it upon us.
Or the demon wanted to create an image that would allow itself to be transmitted, like in YouTube, everyone who's seen it.
but I still thought overall the movie was a banger. I will let you talk a bit more because I feel like I did
No,
stole your
you're
spot.
good. I like the film. It's just the ending that's like, I mean, to be fair, I will have my issues with it like in the first. There really is no hope for the victim.
Yeah,
I mean, unless someone winds up and kills themselves. That's the only way out.
yeah, but you see, the fact that they brought that guy with a potentially uh, cure to delete her and then bring her back before I've seen the entire movie, I was hype about it. I was like, maybe they solved it. Maybe this is how the movie will end. But of course, that was a trickery. But I like the idea. You know what? I will delete you and bring you back, and this is how we will solve that entire infection. I thought having a third option we didn't see in the first one was an improvement, a major improvement, because then you're like, oh, so there's a way out. But then they play a trickery. But still, I enjoy the fact that now maybe there's an of a third way. Um, any thoughts on that third way, Dlord?
I mean, not really. I mean, you gotta think of it. It's the limit. I think I can see why this film's getting good reviews. Like, I can get it. I can see it. I enjoy it. Like, you can see her going crazy. Like, you gotta think of how much of the stuff was crazy. Her pulling out her hair do you think that was real or in her head?
In her head,
So, the dressing room, was it real or was it her?
was there other people in the room? I forgot.
So, probably her.
If she was alone, that was in her head.
Hmm.
Again, what I here's what I really believe about that movie. Most public scenes with a bunch of other people, that was real, and anything that's not in public, it's behind closed door. It's her, and that goes back as well to the hospital where she deletes her mom when she doesn't really delete her mom because um, she was not in public; she was behind closed door again. So yeah,
As I said, it's a good ending. It's a good build up towards the ending. It's just the question of, yeah, that does spawn endless sequels. Like, oh, don't even get started. But I shake my head at that. because I'm thinking of it because I understand the universe and the end lore potential. So you just created trauma from a whole thing.
yeah. Do you want to add more?
No, that's good.
Okay,
And rating wise, I will give it a 9 out of 10.
I'm not there yet, but
Because I'd like to see if you have any issues in the film.
I didn't. I had no issues whatsoever. That
Because
movie
it's
is a
kind of
masterpiece for me.
like the coping, right? She's like, "Oh, you're doing better. You're doing this." I'm assuming she has she takes the pain pills because of the car wreck.
Yeah,
And she's like self-conscious because of the scar on her.
yeah,
And to be honest, if you have a wreck like that, you'd be very lucky to survive.
yeah. But it happens. Like some people survive that
Also,
kind of wreck.
but you will be.
Yeah,
Apparently, she hurt her lower back
yeah.
as well as got like
Not only her lower back, but she also has a
like
scar
gouged up
on
her
her.
stomach or
Yeah,
something like that.
yeah.
Unless that's Mm,
Yeah, that's a goal. Yeah,
like
but
that's mm,
unfortunately, I didn't take that many notes because again, that was in theater. I've seen it. Um, I thought we had great action, just like the first one. Great music, treats very well the topic of addiction and mental illness. Well told story about trauma. The acting was great. The musical aspect to the movie did add a lot to how the main character felt. The twist and turn are all well made. The characters felt grounded despite living on a sci-fi world. One of the best horror flick this year. And again, that's funny. All Cole told me, "Oh, you hated Joker 2 because that's a musical." We could almost consider Smile 2 as a musical to some extent because we had a lot of musical numbers, but they were good. They added to the story. Really, I enjoyed that aspect. What did you think of that musical aspect, Dlord?
I was getting actually it's kind of like the Britney Spears aspect, kind of like it's a damaged singer that's popular trying to rehab her career,
Yeah.
like the mother's trying to help her.
Not really. The mother helps herself.
The
she lives
mother's
her dream
trying.
through her daughter. That's exactly
That's
what's
why
going
I
on there.
said, yeah, lives the dream through the daughter, but tries to help her and sing.
No, no, not really help her. She's the cause of all of that shit.
Well, to be fair, he still. But like, I'm pretty sure the dinner scenes were real, and I'm starting to think when I was thinking back, I'm like, so she was going crazy subtly. Now, in the part, which is funny, and if you think about it, when the guy wasn't there, like when she was sitting in the bar,
Yeah.
the guy wasn't there.
Which
So
guy?
the guy said he could help her.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
He was like, where did he's not there. So
yeah,
that definitely was in her head.
yeah. Yeah, that's what I was telling you. I think that's probably one of the few public scene that's in your head.
She went there, but then there the people go, they go, oh, it's Sky. I saw the person you pushed that lady off the stage or whatever. Right?
Yeah,
So it's like she was talking with him, and that's the demon trying to just parasite her until whatever.
yeah.
That's why I said it's good storytelling. And it does have rewatch value. Because that's why I say it's actually really good. I'd put it up there.
It's
Because
one of my horror flick, my favorite horror flick.
I don't know if I call it a possession flick more than
Yeah,
anything else. Because she's more possessed. It's the idea a demon or the entity consumes the person and then it's passed along.
yeah.
And it doesn't exactly say what the powers of the demon are. All it is attached to causing the trauma. Now, how much mileage you can get out of this, I don't know. I joke about the pandemic style infection, but it might just be the Belt Road to having sequels.
Yeah, that's what I'm telling you. Um,
God.
I feel like we are doing circles. So you said your grade was a 9 out of 10.
Yes.
In my end, that's a solid and well-deserved 10 out of 10. Among the movies this year, um, I I think that movie scales very high for me. Now, again, I'm not the truth. Everyone has their own opinion. Uh, in my end, that movie right now, as we are doing this, I don't know. I think I will place it elsewhere because as of right now, I think it's in 10th place out of 62 movies I've seen this year. I think I will place it higher because the more I think about it, the more I feel like it has more value than others above. So I don't know how it will go, but that's a solid 10. Highly recommend Smile 2 despite us spoiling everything for all of you. Um, what do you have going on your end of the internet, Dlord?
Well,
Dlord?
I'm here. Sorry. No, I just have my normal. And probably I'm just working my way through Diablo 4 on another character. I don't know. I might have some game series. I will have one or two. But there isn't much release that I'll play that's going to be released between now and whenever. But I do have current. I just got to get other stuff I got to get done too. So other than that, it's just gaming content. I might have some commentary stuff. It all depends, really, how crazy we get before the election. I mean, to be fair, and I have other things in the fire. But,
Yeah.
but yeah, no, I'll probably start a new gaming series next month. So,
That sounds fun.
oh yeah, I have at least Kingdom Come Deliverance between now and whenever. Because I am going to be playing Kingdom Come Deliverance in February, so play through the first. It takes a little while. But anyways, what do you got going on for you?
Gaming. And Tuesday we talk about Damsel and the Listener, two 2024 movies. One is trash, the other is great. That's hilarious. The big divide there. Outside of that, gaming content as well. And thank you for watching. And once we go out, once we are gone, timestamp will be in the description below. This way you can find anything you want to see from Smile 1 to Terrifier 3. And with that being said, thank you for watching. Take care.